I saw a Twitter post the other day where the team at Massive were advertising that they wanted someone to fill up an animator role for the Division 3. I've been scrolling through, but I just don't seem to be able to find it. I wonder if I was dreaming it or it didn't happen and I was just hallucinating. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about the Division 3 in light of everything that has actually gone down. Now, we have to keep it real. If anybody's been watching, most who suspected that the Star Wars bet and the Avatar bet were going to not be coming out very strong for Ubisoft Massive, I think they were right. At the end of the day, the developers are now in a very interesting position. I hate it when games fail because it really means that developers are, in a precarious situation. However, when games win, it's a win for us. But in this case, whatever happens with the Star Wars and Avatar thing in terms of low sales, that's self-inflicted by Ubisoft and Ubisoft Massive for deciding to go with licensed IPs, which is almost antithetical to a lot of Ubisoft's core business model, or at least what they've postured to be their core business model in, investor meetings and investor charts. I remember reading an investor meeting and investor chart, documentation. It was a presentation that was done and they created this huge, nice graphic for it. And in that meeting, I even made a video about it. You'd have to search the the Gamer Dad channel, not the Video Game Fight School channel. That's my other channel, in the shameless plug, Freudian slip. And they showed that in their arsenal or in their library are a lot of games that have, that are owned by them, where they don't necessarily have to bother with, profit sharing and licensing fees. And they even bragged that they had more of those games than other competitors like EA and, Take-Two Interactive and so on and so forth. So when they said they were going to go make an Avatar game, I was like, well, maybe they're trying to diversify. But then when they said they were going to make a Star Wars game, I was like, whoa. That's two games in this movie side where you're going to be paying sincerely what I think is a lot of money to those owners of the IPs. If anybody's been paying attention, you probably saw that it cost PlayStation over $300 million to actually make the Spider-Man 2 game. A huge chunk of that from document leaks showed that they were for license fees. And not only do you pay those license fees up front, you then pay fees at the back end of every copy sold. So this Ubisoft Massive, bets on two games that are licensed games that have not been strong on sales really puts them in a position where they're really now dependent on their Division community. So what does that mean? It's time for you to make your demands. You're going to be paying money for this game, and this game, Division 3, is more than likely going to sell well. However, at the same time, Ubisoft Massive doesn't have room for much error. Now, their Assassin's Creed game, I don't even know what to tell you there. I'm not a big Assassin's Creed player. I've only played Odyssey. That's one I liked. It's a Greek mythos game. Enjoyed it. The one with Yasuke and, the Shinobi girl coming soon, we're going to see how that plays out. Right now, there seems to be a huge movement that has very little tolerance for games that they're not so fond of when the game has been unveiled. But again, I digress. The Division seems to be the one game where the community is open-minded. However, this is a community that has not necessarily felt treated the best way. It's a community that was put on the back burner for Ubisoft and to use Massive to make two other games that are not Division games. They could have used or at least commissioned any other studio to do it, but they decided Massive was going to be the studio. So now that all has gone down and the community of Division players and Tom Clancy know where they stand, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done to do some convincing. And I think this is where Ubisoft Massive can excel because they have a direct line to that Division community. Ubisoft Massive doesn't have a direct line to the Star Wars community. They don't have a direct line to the Avatar community. I'm just surprised that after cultivating this love-hate relationship over many years, they just decided to put it on the back burner. Ooh, what a miss. What an abject miss and almost catastrophe at the end of the day, because now I think this is where, as a Division audience, they need to start talking. They need to start talking. You need to start teasing. You need to start surveying. Like, you need to start doing those things that will keep the player base waiting. Intently, not just waiting, but waiting with intention to actually patronize the game. Because here's what's going to happen. As time is going, the window's closing. Because the Division 3 might be the last Division game, and they will need to be able to hit the ground running hard and be able to make the game be one that lasts for, many, many years in the way that they iterated. So they have to work smart. Another thing too that's also challenging in this time too is the console sales at this moment compared to when the Division 1 and 2 came out. Ooh, they're drastically different. The reason I think the Division 2 did not necessarily resonate on console in terms of the initial sales burst was because a lot of folk who had played the Division 1 usually like these kinds of games on PlayStation and Xbox anyways, but they didn't resonate with it because it just wasn't their kind of game. Now that we're in the new generation of consoles, I don't know if we have enough units to be able to say, let's put money out for a Ubisoft game after these other two games that they've brought out that didn't necessarily appeal to us. So again, the owner still lands on the Division community who are still interested in playing the game. This is where Massive needs to be very careful. A lot of what's going on in the Division community right now seemingly is not making a lot of Division players, too excited. Yes, there's some things to be excited for, some things to look forward for, but I really do think it's a very sensitive time for them. And, the community of Division gamers are fine. They're not mad, in a sense, but at the same time, it's going to be very hard, for Ubisoft Massive to convince them otherwise that they're their top priority, even if now I think they are from a financial perspective, but they really have to, show that they are in many ways than none. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. A lot of this Star Wars stuff and Avatar stuff, as predicted and, as some suspected, has basically shown that, you really need to cultivate your audience. And many of these companies are just making some interesting gaffes because by now we should be in a Division 3 game launch, like literally coming in spring of next year, if they had actually allocated their resources properly. Think about it. The Division 1 came out in 2019. Warlords of New York was 2020. That was a big DLC they wanted to do, and they wanted to end it. 4 years to be able to reintegrate a new Division game when they did it in 3 from Division 1 to 2. I mean, this would have been a no-brainer by now. But they wanted to chase that Hollywood bag, and, we'll see how it pays off for them. Thanks for watching. Peace out.